All right, guys, what's up? Happy Money Monday. We're going to try to make it a quick one today. Pretty briefly, just want to talk about knowing what your money is doing, ideally at all times, as best as you possibly can. I feel like another trap that people fall into is not wanting to pay attention to your money because, out of sight, out of mind, especially if it's not where you want it to be at right now, or if you feel like you're broke, if you feel like you don't have enough, then looking at it is just going to potentially remind you of like the issues or the things that maybe are less than ideal going on with your money. But ignoring it honestly also is not going to fix the issue. I find that so many things, because it's like kind of painful to look at, or I don't want to say painful, but it's like not the most pleasant thing to pay attention to, that has saved me more money in the long run. Because prime example, this being my wealth journey in particular, and I'm just like sharing with you guys the things I'm learning. I ordered a travel credit card to start using that intentionally, pay for my traveling expenses to get reimbursed for that, because like, why not? They have these programs out there that like let you do things for free just for using their money. What I did not realize is that even though it's a brand new card, the interest works totally different on my new card than it worked on all my previous credit cards. So normally all my previous credit cards were 0% interest for, they usually give you a promotion for 12, 18, however many months they want to give you for 0% interest. So like, even if you're not paying off the full balance, you have like a good amount of time. They do that to incentivize you to like, oh, you can rack it up as much as you want and pay it down in that time, knowing that human nature, we tend to be optimistic about our abilities to be responsible. So most of the credit cards, I'm very used to that, but I realized as yes, I'm still paying like very large chunks off of that card. I'm not paying it all in a single month, because I did kind of go crazy on the travel card, and like I paid for the rest of my trip and flight to Indonesia, which is a very expensive flight. And a lot of this just happened to be a time period where I was buying a lot of things to do with my business as well. So I also was kind of using it as a business card because I don't have a business card yet. So this is probably going to be another video in the future on getting a business card. But yeah, know what kind of interest they're charging you. Don't take it for granted on anything that you get, that what the cost is, and like, unless you've actually read it and looked into it. So now, because I used that card so much to make sure I could like maximize the points I got on it, I ended up having to pay the largest amount of interest that I've ever paid on any card. I've never really had a card where I had to pay a high interest. It was like 27% interest. That is high AF. I feel like I've normally seen maybe like 18 something percent like that. So for me, it was a big wake up call, like, oh, Yvette, this is a new card. You should have like looked into that. Thankfully, it's only been maybe a month, and so I'm only going to pay that interest pretty much maybe once. Honestly, yeah, I'm only going to pay it once, because I already like threw so much money at that. I threw so much money at that card. Like, oh, hell no. I don't want to spend that much every month, like paying this down slowly. So now that card became my top priority to actually pay off first over my other maybe like 2 cards that I use, because I saw, oh God, they're charging me for real. Normally, if I had to pay interest, is maybe like $50, $30 to $50 or less. Something that I'm like comfortable with doing maybe once or twice. I still don't believe in paying interest. I believe that, as we know from the investment videos, I believe that we should be making all the interest. So I do what I can to pay off the highest interest as soon as possible. We talked about another video, getting out of debt. So that would be a case where one of the topics was paying down your highest interest cards first. So I had gotten fully out of debt. I just recently got back into a small amount of debt due to, like I said, travel and business expenses. But I still am going to use that same plan, that same method that I use to get out of debt to begin with, which is throwing all the money that I can spare at the highest interest rate debt. Knowing that travel, and also I'm going to use that travel card differently moving forward, knowing that it has a really high interest rate. I'm going to, as soon as I get it down to what I consider a comfortable, manageable level, I'm putting it on auto pay to just pay off the whole balance every month, which is what I normally do with all of my cards. But again, stuff happens, and there's time periods in your life where you spend a little bit more than you can pay off in a single month. And I did that. I did get myself into that situation, but I also knew if worse comes to worse, I can just pull from my investments to pay it off faster if I want to do that. But then you have to weigh the benefits of kind of sacrificing the interest that you're earning to make up for the interest that you're losing. So, and honestly, at an interest rate that high, 27%, so very few of my investments are returning me maybe 27% interest. But I do avoid touching my investments as much as humanly possible because of the compounding effect. Every time you take something out of your investment, you're decreasing your compounding power. So, yeah, I'd rather pay some interest just for a couple of months for literally, like, as long as it's a short enough amount of period. Again, it's checks and balances. If you need to like write it out and see how you feel about it, but just knowing it, if I did not look at it, if I did not know what my money was doing, I would have just been paying hella interest every month, like throwing a smaller amount of money at that card than had I not seen that and started throwing way larger amounts of money at it to get the interest down to something reasonable that I'm comfortable with on a temporary basis. I'm not comfortable with paying any kind of interest consistently, but for a temporary period, we call that leverage. You can have some positive debt. So for example, I did get a whole lot of points by using that card, but I did go overboard. And I only know that because I looked at my statement and actually paid attention to all the numbers on the statement. So knowing is going to help you moving forward make informed decisions about which cards you want to use for things. Is that card benefiting you? Is that card hurting you? Same thing, knowing what's in your account, knowing what's in your bank account. I feel like it's a sucky situation. It's suckier to not know than it is to just like face the music, face the reality of like, oh, I'm about to overdraft my account. Say if you have if your bank account is like really low, you know it's low, but you don't know exactly how low, and you just like kind of hoping and praying when you're using your card. We don't want to have those situations, if at all possible. So know what your money is doing in any of your accounts, including your debt. Know what your debt is doing. Know what percentages you're paying. Keep yourself informed. Be an informed consumer, and that's what they don't want. They want you to just ignore it and just keep paying the interest because that's how they make their money. All right. So with that said, if you have anything further to add, any comments or whatever stories or situations that you've been in where you realize that you was paying more than you thought you were, it's good to know. All right. Peace out, y'all. Get that money.